Despite this game being an overwhelming success, and I do mean overwhelming, I don't think it wise to stay the course. But we will see what happens. Hey, check this out. Elden Ring Nightreign is the newest addition to FromSoft's Soulsborne catalog, but it feels like a completely different experience. I purchased this game during the recent Steam Winter Sale, and I have been having a blast with it. Speaking of the Winter Sale, the deals were nuts, Gaben. Just take my wallet at this point, why don't you? FromSoft looked at the closing statement from my previous Elden Ring video and the many others in the same vein about the diminishing returns of FromSoft's Soulsborne endeavors and said, yeah, that's nice. Have you considered trying an Elden Ring game designed by a Dark Souls speedrunner that throws Adderall into their pre-workout protein shake? No? Too bad, you're getting one! Long story short, I was addicted to two games over the holidays, BallxPit and Elden Ring Nightreign. I love this game, but, and this is a big but, it is not for everyone. Even if you are a fan of every other Souls game that came before, you genuinely may not like this game. This game feels like a completely new experience, despite deriving the vast majority of its gameplay feel and assets from Elden Ring and Dark Souls games. Even Dark Souls 1. FromSoft took the giant box of Elden Ring Legos and tried to make a game that was a mixture of Helldivers and Fortnite with it. It's pretty cool. So let's talk about how Elden Ring Nightreign hits different. Nightreign has a very fixed and quick gameplay loop. Choose a boss to fight, pick your pre-game relic buffs, walk out of the roundtable hold like you're about to drop the hardest mixtape, jump into the expedition, and then see red for 40 minutes. During those 40 minutes, you are going to be planning a route, running between landmarks, mini-bosses, and not-so-mini-bosses, avoiding the exterior of the closing zone unless you have lots of available healing on hand, until you are forced to fight a boss at the end of each in-game day. Repeat this process. While you are doing this, you're trying to create a build for your character class, with the armaments that you pick up and the buffs attached to them. Talismans you pick up, relics that you start the expedition with, consumable items which you find which are actually super useful in this game, which, tangent, that's a good change. I like consumables. Spoiler alert for my favorite class. Anyways, you are also looking for buffs you get from killing mini-bosses, world bosses, and end-of-the-day bosses. Also, you are leveling up with the runes that you collect from killing enemies to a max of level 15. That is also a change with this game. You cannot grind a billion levels to overcome a challenge that has stopped you. You have to figure it out. You have to get good. This is a problem for me. In Elden Ring, when I couldn't beat a boss, I overleveled myself. I can't do that anymore. There are 3 in-game days per expedition. The first 2 are you running around like a goblin. After killing the second end-of-day boss, 3rd day begins, and you immediately go to fight the final expedition boss, the quarry you set out for from the start. You go to this oddly beautiful place, walk through this big spooky stone door to this place, and kill whoever's hanging out there. Then that's it. 30 minutes running around like a goblin, another 10 minutes fighting end-of-day bosses and the final boss, and just like that, a very exhilarating 40 minutes gone in a flash. Unless you die on an end-of-day boss early game, then it could be a lot shorter. Nightreign greatly rewards game knowledge and quick decision making, so you better study up for your Dark Souls exam. If you don't study up, you're gonna die. You're gonna get a B. You're gonna get if you don't study for your Dark Souls exam, you're gonna die and you're gonna get a B. And if you get a B, no ice cream for a week. No ice cream for a week, all right? Lock in, okay? This is serious. Nightreign is a very focused, high-octane sprint, which feels very strange to say for anything Dark Souls related, but it is what it is. And what it is awesome. I never thought adding a super sprint to Dark Souls could feel so natural, but here we are. Another big difference is character classes. You don't customize your character's build or look in this game. You play as preset characters, 8 in the base game, an additional 2 in the DLC for a total of 10. Each with their own stats, preferences for weapons, dodge animations, and dodge distances, character passives, character skills, and character arts, aka your ultimate, that completely change how your character plays. There is a lot of variety between the classes, and they cover a wide range of potential builds. And due to the relic system in the game where you get to select buffs going into an expedition, there are even more potential builds and ways to make your expedition runs feel different. My favorite class is the Scholar, which at its core is a support class with absolutely heinous stats across the board, except for Arcane. which is the highest in the game. Arcane lets you apply status effects to enemies easier, and Elden Ring has some cool status effects to apply. The Scholar's character skill and ability at a baseline lets you throw damage debuffs around, deal extra damage, have a high risk and high reward parry, and let your team heal by doing damage to enemies. There are relics that improve these abilities. The Scholar's passive lets you make better use out of the extremely useful consumables in this game, better use than any other class. This class can best be summed up as a loot goblin with a poop knife throwing their trash at people.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage. And then I pick.
It's fantastic. A lot of people dunk on my boy, the Scholar, because his dodge takes a lot of getting used to. It's a short distance, it's really rough at first, but it has the benefit of being a very quick dodge. So if you really nail your inputs, you can stay in the monster's face and keep laying on the status effects. I love this class. If it is used well, it can completely flip the balance of a fight through the power of friendship. Also through poop knife and trash. Can't forget the power of poop knife and trash. All of the classes are cool, and their story quests are neat. Also, quick shout out to Raider, probably my second favorite class currently, but all of the classes are awesome. Builds are very different in this game. In Soulsborne games of the past, you have your stats that you choose to level, weapons that you choose to upgrade. Very few of those items have hidden buffs, and just the knowledge of the location of where to find those items is the only real game knowledge you need to get, apart from learning boss attack patterns. In Nightreign, you have your character class, which grants abilities and set stats, your choice of weapon, which may interact differently with your character, the buffs attached to those weapons. Certain weapon buffs require you to equip the weapon to make use of it, but most do not. So you can get at least 6 buffs from weapon passives, with at least 1 buff per armament slot. You get buffs from killing bosses, you have the ability to level up weapons with smithing stones, you get talisman drops, you have your relic buffs, which you choose to go into the expedition with, you have a knowledge of damage types that the bosses are weak to, so you have to plan your route accordingly, so that you can get the items that best maximize your damage output. And if a demon shows up in your world, you gotta learn what those deals do, because there's a lot of misinformation out there about them. I don't even know what they all do yet. Long story short, there's a lot to think about before you hop into an expedition, and once you're in, your brain is constantly thinking about things. You are the most locked in you have ever been playing an Elden Ring / Dark Souls game. It is very different from a traditional Dark Souls game, and it is a great time that I highly recommend. Despite being the most flippiest of asset flips, it feels fresh, but it is not without its issues. As much as this game has been consuming my life recently, it has a couple of problems. Firstly, as much as the variance in the game gives it a lot of replayability and makes it awesome, there are rare times when you just don't find anything that you are looking for. It also prevents you from trying a lot of specialized relic builds, because you may just never get the relics you need to make it work. For example, on my end, I really want to try Bomb Scholar, but I never get pot damage relics from my relic rolls. Then with how the currency you use to gamble for upgrades doesn't just fall into your lap in piles, the gambling for upgrades can feel pretty damn bad at times. And then, when you're actually in the expeditions, there are very rare times when you just don't get something you can actually work with. This is extremely rare, but in 100 hours of playtime, it's happened to me more than once, not often. Very, very rare. But the upgrade thing, that really gets me. Thankfully, there are relics that you get from doing the character story quests that are guaranteed and work great. It is a problem in every roguelike game with gambling aspects. Gambling is awesome, but it's still gambling, and you can still just lose. Not a deal breaker for me. The game's still fun. Secondly, this isn't really a problem, but it is something worth considering. This game is designed with multiplayer in mind first, which is great. That's not the problem. The issue is that playing by yourself in this game is not really encouraged, unless you are a Dark Souls god. And even then, you will likely struggle. And when you play by yourself, some of the classes just don't work nearly as well unless you have friends. Like Scholar, you need friends. Whereas with all of the other Soulsborne games, they were designed with solo play in mind, but multiplayer is just as viable as single player, if not more viable. And multiplayer in the old Souls games was encouraged. Whereas in this game, solo play is not really encouraged. Not really a problem for me. I like playing this game with other people. It's great, but if you wanted to do, a solo run, you just get less out of the game. Thirdly, this is a very specific issue. I have a pretty damn good computer. I built it myself. I'm pretty proud of it. When I tell you, every time I face the Gaping Jaw Day 3 boss, Adele, Baron of the Night. I fear that my computer might combust. This man has a move that begins in its second phase that made me drop so many frames that I lost a year off of my life expectancy. I am sure of it. I froze with fear. I was like, oh shit, did I just blow up my computer? And fourthly, the last issue I have with this game, it's kind of a classic FromSoft issue. They don't really tell you what the things in the game do. And the reason why for me this is more of a thing I have to stress in this particular game is because it is time sensitive. Everything you do in the moment, you are considering how long it is taking you. And if you don't know what something does, you might just not take it, when it could be a humongous boon, but you would never know. Because for example, when I pick up a sword and it has the power of the something on it, but it doesn't say what that does, I go and I say, what the hell even is that? I'm gonna stick with what I know. But later you learn that this power of the whatever is actually God tier and you should have been using it. You feel like an idiot. Also, even when it isn't time sensitive, it makes creating builds more difficult because all the relics you get have passives, and there's all of these passives, but they aren't really fleshed out. For example, like lightning damage up. I don't know how much my lightning damage is going up. And then there's multiple versions of that. There's lightning damage up +2, and I don't know how much that makes my lightning damage go up. Is it just 2? Is it 2%? I don't know. There's like when you fight invaders, you get like Scholar's Regret or something like that. And it's like, what does that do? Also, they don't show you the numbers on the character stats. They show you how they scale. Like even if you go to like the game's in-game codex, you get to see how each of the characters' stats scale. Like with the Scholar, the Arcane is S tier, but what numbers do I have? I only know that my Arcane stat is a 50 because I've seen people talk about the class. People had to data mine those numbers. Looking at the letter grades, you wouldn't think that Scholar is a viable intelligence spellcaster, despite his name being the Scholar. His intelligence stat is 28. That's a pretty solid foundation to make a build around in this game, and I would not have guessed that from a C rank.
The numbers, FromSoft, what do they mean?
But apart from that, if you're not afraid to study for your Dark Souls exam, remember the ice cream. Don't deny yourself this. Then you'll be fine. If the issues haven't steered you away at this point, I highly recommend giving Nightreign a shot. I feel like we live in a generation of remaking, rebooting, remastering, or recycling. Remakes, remasters, and reboots are everywhere. Some are really good, and some are really bad. Such is life. I personally think that we live in an incredible time for gaming, particularly for gamers, not for the people who make games. There are so many amazing games out there worth your time. I was just about to upload the video, but I feel like I have to put this in just as a quick tangent. There's a lot of amazing games out there for you to try and for you to put your time into, yes. The industry is terrible for people who make games, yes. The industry is being blocked off now because of AI. It's a great time to already be a gamer, but if you ever wanted to become one, you're cooked because you might have to decide between buying a few sticks of RAM and buying a car. It's literally terrible everywhere except if you've been gaming for a long time, and even that has its downsides. But there's a lot of really good titles out there right now worth your time. Just wanted to clarify that. If you already got the hardware, because AI is destroying anybody's ability to become a gamer, so just thought I'd further expand on that because so much has changed in the past month. January has been a very long 400 days. Anyways, back to the video. But the market is saturated, and far too many studios have become helmed by people who care more about making money than they do making a good product. So much so that they will force a sequel where one is not needed just to churn out a product. They will suck the passion out of their dev team and demand a repeat of greatness. They will typically not acknowledge the potential of the ideas that their passionate dev team has, and either force them to make a bad, unearned, and disjointed sequel, or to do a remaster of a game that was successful. The gaming industry has become a cutthroat, unstable, and overly demanding industry for the vast majority of its workers, due to people with money but no talent or humanity. who seem to always find their way to the top of companies. From Software, thankfully, seems to have evaded this corporate disease thus far. Nightreign, to me, is such a wonderful illustration of that fact. This game is being headed by someone other than Miyazaki, for starters. The game director for this game is Junya Ishizaki, who came into the role of director because, and I quote, toward the end of development of Elden Ring, Miyazaki, Hidetaka Miyazaki, president and CEO of From Software, director of Elden Ring, approached me and asked, wouldn't it be interesting to try being a director soon? I was in charge of battles in Elden Ring at the time, and I was thinking that it would be interesting to create a game with battles that had a larger flow based on the battles in Elden Ring, so I decided to do it.
But that's simply not possible.
Why isn't it possible?
It's just not.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
The god of Dark Souls walked up to this man and said, hey buddy, you're pretty neat. You got some cool ideas. You should give my job a go. Oh, and feel free to use all my shit. Now, I have no idea as to Miyazaki's motivation for doing this. Maybe he's just doing this because he's looking to retire, or maybe he has always been a great guy to work for and he's always had an eye out for ideas among his peers. I don't know, I've never met the man. What matters is that we have seen what can happen when companies learn to see the potential in their employees and hear them out. Also, being willing to let the new guy use whatever assets you've already led the making of in the past is peak mentor behavior. Making a spin-off with a passionate director rather than forcing an unneeded sequel or remaster from an exhausted game director, or even worse, an outside hire with the wrong vibes, should be what companies strive to have the ability to do. Of course, financially is one thing. Having a mainline series good enough to warrant a spin-off is another thing. But having the courage to take a leap of faith with someone you see potential in, under the guidance of good, experienced leadership, is a whole other thing that needs to be recognized. It's how we spread good leadership and force it to carry on, and not let it die when one person leaves. It's how good leadership endures. Whether we are talking about a company or just life in general, leadership begets leadership, for good or ill. And the best part about this situation is that because this was a spin-off, if for some reason the game turned out to be bad, it wouldn't affect the rest of the series. Nightreign could have been swept away as an interesting experiment with good ideas that needed better execution. But because it is good, and boy is it good, it opens up a new well of potential for Soulsborne with a new style of game and lots of new potential game mechanics, and the ability to potentially have a game down the line like this that is actually canon to the mainline lore. Could be neat. Because of Miyazaki's decision, I now get to look forward to what Junya Ishizaki directs as well as Miyazaki. FromSoft is just going to keep churning out bangers. A game series with what I can only imagine is a mountain of dead spin-offs, disregarded stories, and unrecognized or abandoned potential is Halo. Used to be one of my favorite series, which at its peak, the Halo 3 era, dropped Halo 3 ODST, an amazing spin-off that is regarded as one of the best games in the franchise because there was so much passion behind it. A Halo story where you follow an ODST, one of those cool-looking unimportant guys in the background of Master Chief's story, through an investigation to find his squad of similarly unimportant guys. No world-ending stakes, just a dude looking for his team. I imagine talking to an executive at Microsoft at the peak of Halo's success to get this idea approved was a nightmare, but somehow they got the green light and made a masterpiece. Bungie only got the permission to make one spin-off when their dev team was at their best, which is criminal. After 343 Industries, Halo Studios, took over and ruined the mainline series, they then started pumping out weird, unearned spin-offs to attempt to milk dollars out of the remaining hope of their community. Halo Spartan Assault, Halo Spartan Strike, soulless cash grabs born of the impending financial hit from them destroying their own community. Wastes of money, time, resources, and a legacy built over a decade. Nightreign and Junya Ishizaki have earned their place among the opulent Soulsborne legacy. It is an amazing thing to get to witness. Hello! Thank you so much for watching the video. It means the world. Have you played Nightreign? Who is your favorite Night Lord? Mine is Libra, the Equilibrious beast. But my favorite track is from Caligo, the Fisher in the Fog. Although Libra's track is amazing as well. Have you played any other of FromSoft's Soulsborne, Sekiro, Elden games? Which is your favorite? I think my personal favorite is Dark Souls 3. It was the first one that I beat. I then went back to 1 and beat it after quitting in the past, which made 3 better because of the Plin Plin Plon. Then I tried and failed miserably at Sekiro, which I may have to give another shot. All I gotta say is that bull was bullshit. You know, maybe that's what I'll stream first, is me trying to beat Sekiro again. Anyways, back to the Dark Souls timeline. I then tried to beat Dark Souls 2, but I got bored halfway through. I was getting through it pretty easily, but it just didn't hook me like the rest of the games did. I dabbled in Bloodborne and it was amazing, but I didn't own a PS4, so I've barely played it. Then I beat and 100%ed Elden Ring, and now I've beaten Nightreign, and I'm missing one achievement that is entirely luck-based, and I'm not at all mad about it. I've had a wonderful experience with FromSoft's I have had an amazing experience with FromSoft's games. So to quickly touch on streaming again, I'm currently in the process of getting my stream set up, and it is coming along. I will drop a post in the community section of my channel when it's ready, and another one whenever I go live. Looking forward to seeing you there. Come through. Other than that, I hope that you are all keeping well and planning to make this year as good as you can. This new year, the world is still insane, so try to keep your head above water. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.